name is Megan O'Russell.
And my name is Christopher Russell, and welcome back to Page by Page, Writing the Book in Real Time. We are now on episode 14, chapter lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13. This was a fun day.
It was.
Yeah, this was a fun day. I'm excited to get into this. First, we do have some housekeeping. Thank you all so much for bearing with us. I know we were like, yay, we're going to be back on schedule, and then technical things happened. So apparently beer and XLR cords don't mix.
We don't know that for sure. We don't know.
That's true. We don't. All we know is that there was some crackling that was going on in the test recording that I was doing. I try to do a test recording every week. I will admit that sometimes I forget to. I'm glad I remembered last time, but there was a crackling, and I was like, I have no idea what this is. So I futzed around with like connecting and reconnecting. The XLR cable, by the way, is the like big cable that plugs into the microphone and then also into the why is my brain going blank on what that's called? The interface. Yeah. So
I was going to go with thingamabob.
The thingamabob. Yeah. And the who's it's and what's it's galore.
We've got 20. No, we didn't. We only had one and it wasn't working.
We only had one and it wasn't working. So
fixed.
Now it's fixed.
All right.
Now it is fixed. So thank you so much for that. Also, other bit of housekeeping. Y'all, this will be the last time you probably hear us before. No, the next episode comes out on Election Day. So please do your civic duty. Go out and vote. Please. Thank you. That's all.
Yep, check your registration. Do all the things.
Well, it's too late if you aren't registered, I think.
But sometimes you need like an extra bit of ID that you can still get.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
If it's like you need something.
If you have questions, ask Taylor Swift. She apparently got a lot of people to vote. So not apparently. That was pretty incredible. All right. So that is that. And I wanted to, before we continue on, introduce the beer of the week since you've already taken sips of yours. Yeah, you heard that right here, folks. So this is one of our favorites. This is, is it Duvel? Duvel? D-U-V-E-L.
It's not duvet. It is a duvet.
It's not duvet.
For your bed.
Okay. But this is a Belgian blonde ale.
It cuddles your... Oh, that was...
Just stop.
Okay, let's go. Thank you for knowing where my brain was going and for also appreciating that was not a...
You know, that is nice. It's a little more bitter than I remember it being.
It's a little lighter than I remember it being, but I do like it.
Yeah, it's not our typical Belgians. Our typical Belgians are usually pretty darker.
I remember you're more bitter than I remember you. Never mind. I obviously am not winning today.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Okay, it's going well. So before we get into the previously on, I wanted to catch up with y'all on life. We've had a lot happen. Okay, I had already written that down. That's good. So we had our very first house guest.
Yes,
last
we did.
week. That wasn't family. We've had family here before, which was great. But we had our very first house guest. Was our house ready? No. But it was still cool. It's cool to have him. He was actually a music director of ours back when we were 22 or something. Yeah. So
but now someone knows the secret that this is the only actually finished wall.
Correct. And you get to see that. Congratulations.
This is the only one. Yeah.
And you will. Ooh, that's more housekeeping. I am not
in housekeeping. That's an update.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So an update. I apologize. Yes. I had moved on from the housekeeping. But an update, the videos will actually start going up within the week because I am not the page-by-page podcast videos. Thank you for explaining what. So apparently Megan believes that those of you listening cannot, in fact, read my mind. But yes, so those videos are going to start going up because I have time. I actually have time.
I know you painted a wall.
I did. I painted a wall today, which was really fun.
Proud of you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. And then also I wanted to mention, Megan, what was the cutest thing that you have ever seen that happened in Avalon Park this weekend? We were at a Halloween event, a market where there were a lot of people.
So keep in mind, I don't really like children as like a general rule. Like I love my nephews, I love my friends' kids, but like as a whole,
you're not a kid
small
person.
Children, I'm not like, oh, I love little kids. I'm like, you cute little things. Go back to whoever made you. Where are your keepers? But we were in Avalon and there were all these kids trick-or-treating and we ran out of candy, but I had stickers. So I was giving out stickers. I gave out hundreds of stickers. And there was one kid. There was only one kid who actually got me. But he was this tiny, tiny little boy. But like probably 3. But like a small 3 in a hot dog costume. he had like this little thing around his face and he's trying to eat his food, but he like can't figure out how to maneuver everything with his hot dog costume. And
it was adorable.
It was the most precious
I brought
thing.
this up at my allergy appointment yesterday, and the nurse looked at me when I said hot dog, and she went, I said, I don't know. She said, thank you for understanding my question. I was like, I don't know. But it was adorable.
It was just like he was so determinedly in it to win it in this hot dog costume.
But what's even funnier is that shortly before I saw him, or maybe it was shortly after, there was somebody dressed up, I kid you not, as a mustard bottle. And I was like, what is going on?
I think the difference was that the Halloween costume wasn't wearing him. He was wearing that hot dog costume. Like he was living his best tiny child hot dog life.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I had so much respect for him.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have costumes like that. I don't think I ever once dressed up as food. Did you ever dress up as food?
I did not ever dress up as food.
All right. Well,
to my knowledge,
these kids today. Hey.
I'm probably gonna get a call from my mom being like, "Don't you remember the year you were a sugar cube?"
Where you and Jessica got together with a friend and you were snap, crackle, and pop. I don't know, but that's still not food though. Those are, what are they? Are they elves? Okay, I'm getting way off course. So now that you are sipping your beer, why don't you give us a previously on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer?
Previously on Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer. After having been strong-armed, because she broke some stuff, by Violet, Ella makes it home after her second day at school, and with the knowledge that Violet is going to make her try to find someone whether she likes it or not. After this knowledge, she decides to enlist the help of Caleb, her fellow Etherean, to try and get some background information on who Violet might be looking for. Caleb shows up late at night.
Why are you all of a sudden a CNN
I don't
anchor?
know, just go with it. It's been raining. His clothes are soggy. He takes
yes,
them
we're
off.
out in the field here. It is quite rainy, quite a wet one here, so make sure you've got your
takes them
tarps
off
up.
to reveal his perfect, lean, muscular. Okay, it went a lot better when I had time to write it out. But anyway, he shows up. He's hot. He tells her about Clara, who is a werewolf who came to Laureldale about 1.5 years ago. She was kind of a troubled girl. Things didn't go very well. And then she disappeared. And when she disappeared, the Laureldale sheriff and the entire law enforcement population really didn't do very much to find her.
It doesn't sound like it. Now, we find out more exactly about how much they didn't do in this chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does sound like it in that chapter. We're kind of led to believe like, oh, they didn't really try that hard,
spend
did
that
they?
much time looking for
Yeah,
her.
because she was a troubled youth.
But we have a fair amount of confirmation.
Yeah.
Relative certainty
Yeah.
that it's probably Clara that Violet is looking for.
Yes.
We're pretty certain of that.
Yes.
We still have no idea who Bloody Head Girl is.
I don't like the fact that you said pretty certain because I was positive, and the fact that you're saying pretty certain is making me really anxious because now I'm like, oh no, that's not what she's looking for.
I didn't say that.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like,
I'm just saying canonologically, we have not received confirmation yet.
okay.
Just because I don't want to be like The Walking Dead and be like, oh no, we didn't kill him.
No.
Kill Glenn.
No, but we do. We find out from Caleb in the previous chapter, don't we? Or no, that was last.
But it's what?
No, that was the previous
it's Caleb's theory.
Oh, I see.
Like, we know who Caleb thinks
Right.
it is. We don't know if that's actually who it is.
Do you know that's apparently the fastest way to make a scientist mad is to say it's only a theory? I'm not kidding, actually.
But that's the thing, and that's why I'm saying we don't know for sure yet.
Okay.
Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh no, it's not Clara.
Right. You're not being obtuse.
But we don't have true confirmation. Like, we know this missing girl is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We know she exists. We know this is a thing that is going to have to be a part of the plot at this point.
Yes.
But we have not confirmed that it is, in fact, Clara herself that Violet is looking for.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Great. Yeah, I can't think of anything that I would add on top of that. No. If you missed anything from before that, you can get a really, really good glimpse into what has happened so far in Sketchbook of Wayward Seer by going back to episode 12. So if you missed anything from before, go back to episode 12, and that gives you a really good recap of the first 10 chapters of Laureldale, or Sketchbook of Wayward Seer. So make sure that if you were all confused, or like, wait, what? Who? Caleb? What? Like, Clara? What is happening?
Wait, whose abs abs are we looking
Whose
at?
abs? Whose abs is it that Ella wanted to lick, but I made you cut that out of the book?
Well, apparently it's not as common as I thought.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Brittany.
I
Thank you.
thought wanting to use abs, like, you know, the hot fudge sundae trays that you get that are like really shallow, and then there's all that hot fudge in the bottom of yours, like,
No, I don't know
okay,
that.
well, apparently that's just
You
something
were
I used
so
to
weird.
do as a small child, and I feel like licking whipped cream off of Shamar Moore's abs would have the same kind of joy.
Good grief. Okay.
He's just a beautiful, beautiful man.
He is a beautiful, beautiful man. Yeah. I absolutely agree.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So then are we ready?
Yeah, I think we've had enough abs talk.
We've had enough abs talk. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for Abs by Abs. That's a terrible joke. I apologize.
Abs by abs?
Instead of page by page. I was making it. So this is Sketchbook.
Wouldn't that be ab by ab and you're trying to build an 8-pack?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. I'm just saying it makes more sense. Okay, continue.
Okay, great. So this is Sketchbook of a Wayward... Good grief. This is Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer by Megan O. Russell. Chapter 13. Did I wear my black sweater to school the next day to honor Mr. Carver? No. Did I correct Paige when she greeted me at my locker, glancing from her black dress to my black sweater to Jason's black button-up, then back to her own dress before saying, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I just couldn't bring myself to wear anything colorful, not when today's going to be about Mr. Carver. Nope. I'd actually worn my black sweater because it fit with my need to scream into the abyss, raging at the cosmos for shoving a corpse and a lost girl into my life while I'm barely coping with my own shit. Do people finally know he's dead? I turned to my locker, reaching right for the purple envelope marked Wisdom. Paige didn't even give a little gasp of excitement. It was on the news and in the paper, Jason said. Yes, Laureldale did still have an actual newspaper, and for $9.99 a month, you could get the daily edition delivered to your inbox with access to all digitized back issues. I'd paid for my subscription at about 1:30 in the morning. There had been 4 mentions of Clara's disappearance. The language in all of them leaned more toward searching for some... Wow, I'm doing well. There had been 4 mentions of Clara's disappearance. The language in all of them leaned more toward searching for someone in the middle of a mental health crisis than racing to find a girl who'd been dragged out of her home. I hadn't bothered looking at today's paper since they'd forgotten about Clara in under a week, and the idea of spending another second looking at that piece of shit publication made me nauseous. Paige and Jason glanced to each other, like they'd noticed me mentally tossing Carver aside to fixate on a living person. Potentially living person. Paige widened her eyes at Jason. As though rehearsed, they snapped their heads my way and locked their focus on me. It wasn't just Mr. Carver who was killed when the tree fell, Jason said. The ping of panic in my chest came before I could latch on to any tiny thread of what the hell an extra corpse at the hospital had to do with me. Caleb. He'd told me his dad worked in the hospital when he'd walked me to school. But I'd seen Caleb last night. We'd spent 2 hours talking about dead and missing people. If something had happened to his... There was a nurse working on Carver, I guess, Jason said. Her son's a student here. Her son, not his. Not Caleb's dad. Another Etherean hadn't lost their family. It didn't matter. The panic still morphed into a stone that plummeted into my stomach, hitting hard enough my knees tried to buckle. Jason took my elbow, like it wasn't the hall that was swaying, but me. I know you want to be treated like a normal person, but if you need to not be here right now, that's okay. All anyone's going to talk about today is death and trauma. There's no reason for you to put yourself through that. I held up my purple envelope. I'll come up with a plan B. I should say that again. I'll come up with a plan B. Paige slid the envelope from my hand. Actually, it would be a plan G, but each new concept gets better. I grabbed the envelope. I can't go back to Kate's. I'll fall into the trauma abyss, and I tried to think of the right way to say it. Don't have the strength to climb out of the endless darkness again? Don't have the ability to sit still without grief crashing back in, squeezing my lungs so tight I can't breathe? Don't even know if I'd want to convince myself to not just keep swimming down until the black swallows me entirely? You can't let one stranger losing their mom become the measure of what breaks you. I don't want to get any further behind in class, was the best usable truth I came up with. Okay, Jason said. If you're sure, Paige said. I opened the envelope. A hint of excitement filled Paige's paler than usual face. Instead of a quasi... This is how I do it in read aloud, too. I will just go, and like basically explaining, I know that was wrong, going back. A hint of excitement filled Paige's paler
drinking
than...
game,
No, we don't want to give people alcohol poisoning. Drink responsibly, kids. Okay.
Drink tea.
Now
that I know that some of our former students
are listening to this, yeah.
Drink your tea, kids, and don't curse in class. You're gonna do great. Okay, continue.
Okay. Yeah, they're totally not going to curse in class, especially because I know exactly who you're talking about. A hint of excitement, and we love you, by the way. A hint of excitement filled Paige's paler than usual face. Instead of a quasi-creepy poem or mock sports tickets, my Wisdom Path ambassador had gone with a simple itinerary card. 11:55 a.m., Academic Achievement Mixer, shop. 4:30 p.m., KAT Society. An unfamiliar address had been listed below. I flipped the note card over, checking the back for any extra events before actually letting myself believe I'd only been scheduled for 2 activities. But Andre, brilliant introvert Andre, rather than taking up the space with more scheduled people-packed fun, had printed a list of students I was going to meet at each event. Caleb and Noah were both on the roster for the Academic Achievement Mixer. An unhealthily large wave of relief reminded my knees they knew how to stay steady. In just a few short hours, I'd have access to Noah again. If I could trigger another vision, maybe I could figure out what the hell was going on with him and check one what the fuck Laureldale off my list. And Caleb would be there. Even if he wouldn't speak to me in public, having an Etherean who knew about the Violet shit with the bonus of being an excellent visual distraction, made today's objectives seem way less daunting. And news of Carver achieving official corp status might actually make things a lot easier. You're a shit, Ella. Does everything look right? Paige snatched the itinerary from my hand. Paige, Jason whispered. She ignored him. Do you think we'll... nope, that's not Paige. Sorry. And by the way, I would like to say that happens all the time in audiobook recording. I've seen some of them live, and they will do that and go, oh, whoops, wrong character, and then start over. But this is a podcast, so you're invited to join me on my mistakes.
Remember that time we had audiobook... Never mind, I'm not going to tell that story.
No, we're not going to tell that story.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Do you think we'll have a normal lunch period today, or will the Academic Achievement Mixer have to be rescheduled? I asked. If they do anything for Carver today, it'll be during homeroom or right before the end of the day, Jason said. I said homeroom in the way that you hate, didn't I?
Homeroom.
It doesn't matter. Will there be... Why? Okay. Will there be... I didn't have to force the wobble in my voice. Will there be a memorial wall or something put up for him? Does the school do, like, plaques when something terrible happens to a teacher? Or when a student disappears? Oh, I want to italicize that. The librarian that died freshman year got a plaque in the library. Paige handed me back the itinerary. The times look right to me, but if... She shifted her feet and glanced over her shoulder. If there's anything on the card you'd like to change, you can tell me. I strategized the Welcome Week grouping so you could meet all 86 until Rob comes back, juniors. My goal being for you to spend at least a little time with everyone, but if you've already spent too much time with anyone, meaning Haley, I can kick her off the invite list. I scanned the back of the note card again. I'd missed Haley's name under the Academic Achievement Mixer. It's just, I know you two had a rough start, Paige said, and there's a good chance your next encounter won't be better. Paige, Jason added a warning tone to that whisper. Am I wrong? Paige flicked his arm. Haley said something stupid. It's not a big deal. I opened my locker, pulled my sparkly textbooks, map notebook, and non-Kowalski'd planner from my backpack, then shoved my bag into my locker with a futile feeling plea to the cosmic. I was doing so well.
Proud of you.
Thank you so much. Okay, good. I need encouragement music or something, but I'm not actually going to do that.
I was just about to do Jaws. I don't know why that's playing.
Because of the callback that I just got. That's why. Okay, going on.
No, it wasn't that.
It wasn't
I just felt like a way to root you on.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. All right. Haley said something stupid. It's not a big deal. I opened my locker, pulled my sparkly textbooks, map notebook, and non-Kowalski planner from my backpack, then shoved my bag into my locker with a futile feeling plea to the cosmos that I might actually make it all the way through school for the second day in a row. What was that?
I have no idea, but we're in it to win it. Continue. I promise, no more accompaniment.
All right, just for that. Paige turned toward homeroom and just stood there, waiting for Jason and me to fall in beside her like it was an expected part of our routine. I obeyed. She started walking. Do you know when the funeral is going to be? Paige asked Jason, a little anxious snap to her voice she hadn't had when telling me I should ditch school. It can't be before Sunday, right? I think it's going to be Wednesday, Jason said. At least a bunch of permit requests for Wednesday came in this morning, and it looked like they were all for around the park and graveyard. Why do you know that? I peeked around Paige to Jason. His jaw tensed. His dad's Sheriff Archer, Paige said. Jason's at the station all the time. He's also been working the place for sources since I forced him into it when we were 9, and I wanted to know what happened to the lost puppy one of the deputies found. That's how you heard the call about the accident at the hospital? I asked. Yeah. Jason's jaw relaxed a tiny bit. Someone from the hospital called the department directly. Most of the phones there are loud enough to overhear if you know where to stand. Useful. People aren't tools, Ella. Jason didn't look ashamed or proud, just tense and tired. I didn't know him well enough to tell if it was a bad night's sleep, grief for Carver, the rain grating his nerves, or something else entirely that had left him so drained. I wanted to ask, but couldn't entirely convince myself I only cared about Jason's mood for his sake, and not because there was no way in hell Jason knew about permit requests for funerals but had never overheard anything about Clara's disappearance. So I stayed silent, filing into homeroom and taking my place in my dethroned desk, pretending I hadn't noticed Paige watching Jason with deepening wrinkles on her brow. Principal Harrison gave the announcements that morning, either wanting the chance to say his 5 nice things about Carver that sounded like he was reading off a bulleted list, or wanting to spare Mrs. Kowalski, whose shaky sniffs we could hear through the speakers, the burden of having to form coherent words. A grief counselor would be at school for the next week. A remembrance ceremony would take place the following afternoon. A notice listing a variety of crisis hotlines would be slipped into every student's locker before the end of the day. Announcements ended, and Mrs. Parker wiped her eyes and started class. There was never any mention of a student's parent dying along with Mr. Carver. I spent the morning splitting my attention between class and sorting my possible next steps into an actionable order, weighing the potential value of information gained against the likelihood of failure and danger of catching Violet's attention. By the time we reached our new Algebra 2 classroom to find the fancy trauma counselor Harrison had brought in just for the students who'd watched Carver die the first time, I had my next 5 tasks planned out. Someone, probably Harrison, had warned the counselor about me, with a picture apparently, since she pulled me aside as soon as I entered the room. She gave me the option of leaving class for a private meeting with Harrison instead. That I managed to say, no thank you, I'd like to stay, rather than laughing and telling her I'd rather break my own arm than let Harrison stare at me while practicing his sympathy emoting skills, displayed a level of restraint that seemed unfair to go uncongratulated. I didn't hate everything the trauma counselor had to say. She had some decent platitudes. Everyone grieves differently, and there's no right or wrong way to feel. Along with, if you're struggling to focus or feel overwhelmed, that's understandable. And finally, it's normal to feel lost or unsettled after experiencing a trauma. Made my top 10 list. She even pulled out, your mind is working through a lot right now, and sometimes that comes out in dreams, when one of the girls admitted to having nightmares about Mr. Carver collapsing. When the counselor asked if anyone else's sleep had been disturbed, almost half the class raised their hands. I flipped into full strategy mode as the counselor started working on bedtime breathing practices. I'd had enough sessions on breathing exercises to last a fucking lifetime, and the hope of actual progress on seer shit felt a hell of a lot more comforting than box breathing ever had. After the bell, I lingered in my seat for an extra beat, straightening my stack of sparkly books just as I'd planned. Once the first cluster of students made it into the corridor, I stood and followed the herd, stepping out of their flow just before the door. I looked back to Paige's desk as though I hadn't realized I'd lost her. She bustled over to me, Jason following behind like her shadow. Paige, I fixed my gaze right on her, not so much as flicking my eyes toward Jason. Do you mind walking me to the mixer? I haven't been to the shop. Of course, I'm on my way there, Paige said. Need help? Jason asked. Say no, say no. No, Paige said. Woot woot. But I'll let you get the beverage cart from the cafeteria so you have an excuse to crash, Paige finished. I can work with that. Jason gave a shadow of one of his usual excited bounces, earning a head shake and a sigh from Paige before she led me out into the hall, heading in the opposite direction of Jason. Even though Laureldale had a small student body, the proportional size of the school left the corridors between classes packed and noisy. Far from ideal, but better than a bathroom stall. Paige. I walked as close to her shoulder as I could without tripping her. The thing tonight. Do you think maybe Jason could come too? To KAT? If not, that's totally fine. I frowned, trying to remember the perfect wording I'd thought up during the breathing lesson. Paige's eyes twinkled with excitement, like I'd just completed stage 1 of her Laureldale assimilation plan. Absolutely, Jason can join. Are you sure? Jason would love to. Andre won't mind an extra person? Paige flapped her hand. We're going to Andre's house, and Andre's mom loves Jason. Not what I'd asked, but whatever. Operation Subtly Wrangle Jason Somewhere Without Any Lurking Ethereans had commenced. When I'd read on the itinerary that the mixer was to be held in the shop, I thought we'd be eating little cheese cubes from the grocery store. Incorrect. A taco truck had parked right outside the roll-up shop door, and someone had built an improvised tarp tunnel, allowing students to reach the tiny awning on the side of the truck without getting wet. That truck isn't here just because of Welcome Week, right? I asked. Pause here. I love that after a few days, she's asking Paige this. Like, she knows.
Okay, but a food truck is excessive.
She's Paige!
It's excessive.
She is excessive. Sorry.
Like, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's Paige.
That took extra and went like, bing, bing.
Ba-da-ba-ba, she's Paige.
Should Paige have a theme song?
No.
Okay.
Moving on. Okay. Going back, actually. That truck isn't here just because of Welcome Week, right? I asked. It's not a big deal. Andre expressed the desire, and I developed a presentation on the amount of money the Laureldale High student body spends on Trailhead Tacos annually, inspiring the owner to donate today's lunch as a tax write-off. I also tossed in the understanding that he'd have the front slot for the Widow's Run post-race food fest. Paige winked. I took her hand, stopping her before we'd reached the other students, bracing myself for a vision that didn't come. Paige, real now Paige, tipped her head, frowning at me. You okay? If this is overwhelming, we can go. No, I let out a long breath, shoving back the tears that had learned to come with gratitude. Thank you for doing all of this. You put so much time into something for a stranger. Fucking heat pushed up into my eyes, and a knot pressed into the front of my throat. I really appreciate everything you've done. It's entirely selfishly motivated. Paige smiled as a single tear fell from each of her eyes. I don't want to be friends with anyone out of obligation, but no one deserves the kind of lonely that comes with being an outsider. Welcome Week is designed to find you the right friend group placement, glue you to them, and send you on your merry little way. Harsh. Have you decided who you're gluing me to? I asked. Do I get a choice? Hell no. Paige squeezed my hand. We're keeping you with us, and you don't get a say in the matter, but you still have to finish Welcome Week so you know everyone. She led me toward the gathered group of academic achievers. Sorry, I'm actually making a quick note. Okay. She led me toward the gathered group of academic achievers. Andre caught sight of me, swallowed his bite of taco, and wiped his mouth with his napkin before speaking. Welcome to the academic side of the Laureldale High junior class. He's a bass. Sorry. What? I don't know. I only have so many voices I can distinguish before I go into Snape territory. Sydney handed Andre her paper taco tray and stepped into the middle of the clump to play hostess, going through a rapid-fire list of everyone's name and featured accomplishment. Andre was top of the junior class. Tessa was the computer geek. Haley, being the Social Justice Advocacy Award winner, seemed a little ironic. Sydney had won the Scholar Mentor Award. Paige had made top 20 in the state science fair. Noah was a math guy. Sydney worked her way around, presenting each person like they were a candidate for my doomsday bunker. She'd almost run out of introductions when Caleb stepped into the group, placing himself to be next in line after Carter, the captain of the academic decathlon team. This is Caleb. He won a State Innovation Award for the forest fire prevention sensors now surrounding all the Falls Lake campgrounds, Sydney said. I tensed my shoulders and throat, stifling my laugh at Dryad Caleb getting a fucking forestry award. Yes, I get it.
Okay, that's all.
I get it. He's a forest nymph, and not a nymph, but basically. Well, actually, is he? Is that technically one and the same?
No.
Fae and nymph are different? Nymphs? Okay, anyway, I've broken Megan. Caleb's gaze snapped toward me, but Sydney kept talking.
My brain's still blipping. I'll catch up later. Continue.
Caleb's gaze snapped toward me, but Sydney kept talking.
Keep reading.
Her eyes are like, this is hilarious. He also reigns Laureldale as the first and only King of the Quiets. I'm sorry, what? A tiny laugh bounced my words. Protector of all geeks, keeper of the library, defender of... It started in middle school. Impatience crisped Caleb's tone as he cut Tessa off. It's not a real thing. I'll tell you the story when he's not here to blush, Sydney said. It's not worth telling, Caleb said. It's Laureldale legend, Tessa said. Don't. Caleb said it not just like an order, but one he'd fight to see obeyed. Why, Caleb Clark, whatever did you do? Is this why you never leave your den? Haley said. Oh, Ella hasn't ordered her food yet. Paige took my arm, gripping pretty hard for a human, pinning me to her side as she cut through the group toward the tarp tunnel. Anyone else still need food? Me, Jason called from the far side of the shop where he'd just rolled in a cart with 2 giant sports coolers. Most of the cluster of students headed toward the cart, accepting the excuse to flee Sydney and Haley, who'd started a glaring match. Sydney seemingly on the side of, why does Haley keep wasting the world's oxygen supply by breathing? With Haley on team, I was forced to be here and said what we were all thinking, you sanctimonious twat. I love that insult.
Sanctimonious twat?
Sanctimonious twat.
It does feel satisfying.
Have you called somebody that before?
Yes, to their face.
Yeah, I thought so. Was I there?
I don't think so.
Oh, man. What a great, that's such a great insult.
If you can use it in conversation, if you can call someone a sanctimonious twat and have it be true, God, it feels good.
Oddly, you saying that, there is an individual who actually immediately popped up into my mind.
Walk up to them and say, you're a sanctimonious twat, and see what happens.
I would rather not. It's not a good idea.
Okay.
I personally was on... Get out of here. I personally was on team, wouldn't it be better to just make Caleb take off his shirt again? Ella. Sorry, that was me talking, not Ella judging herself. I personally was on team, wouldn't it be better to just make Caleb take off his shirt again? But, judging from how he'd backed into the corner, placing himself as far from everyone else as the space allowed, showing off the perfection of his abs would draw the kind of attention he'd loathe the way some people hate spiders, public speaking, or Times Square on New Year's Eve. I lost sight of him as Paige pulled me into the tarp tunnel. Rain pounded down on the plastic, the hollow drumming loud enough to muddy Paige's words. Sorry about Caleb, she leaned closer to my ear. I thought this might be the easiest of the Welcome Week activities for him. I should have done a better job cross-checking my student alignment chart. Your what? She held up a finger, pausing our conversation as we reached the front of the line. They'd pasted a shortened menu beside the window. 5 kinds of tacos, 2 kinds of churros, and shot glass flan. Paige Paxman, ladies and gentlemen. I waited patiently while Paige put in our orders, not prodding her until we'd stepped aside, giving Jason the window. What did you mean about Caleb? Paige turned away from Jason, Carter, and the guy whose name I'd already forgotten to face. Oh, nope, sorry. Sorry, that was not that two-faced.
You're ruining inflection. My words.
No, I'm ruining the
emphasis
intention of your words. Paige turned away from Jason, Carter, and the guy whose name I'd already forgotten to face the tarp, gesturing for me to do the same. She glanced down the tunnel one more time before speaking, like she wanted to make sure Caleb hadn't crept up on us. Concerts, games, anything loud and crowded. Caleb's been bad with all of it since some asshole set off fireworks during the St. Patrick's Day parade. I haven't seen him without his earplugs in since at least 6th grade. What? Yeah. Paige widened her eyes. Even in the library, his sensory issues have got to be awful. Fuckity fucks. Because he's a fae. Because he has fucking fae hearing and is trapped with fluorescent lights buzzing, HVAC rumbling, and almost 1,000 people's worth of noise echoing through this thin-ass walled hell. The sudden need to punch and claw and rage until I ripped a hole in the universe built up in my chest, pushing out against my ribs like I might explode. A screaming, chaotic rock concert. That's what Caleb faced in school every day. Trying to learn through that much noise? Waking up 5 mornings a week knowing that's the hell he had to face? I didn't know if I'd be able to convince myself existing in the human world was worth it if I had that kind of noise carving through my mind. He really is a good guy, though, Paige said. I know. My voice came out too crisp. You're not mad at Paige. Paige didn't make being different so fucking hard. He was super sweet when I apologized for snapping at him my first day. White lie. Can I interrupt? Notice how I try it for another character. It's Jason. Can I interrupt? Jason asked from behind us. Can you call off work tonight to come to Andre's? Paige turned away from the tarp to face him. Damn it. Don't interfere with human necessity shit, Ella. If he's supposed to be working, I caught the end of what I assume was a answer yes or else glare Paige shot at Jason. It's not worth making your boss mad. Don't risk your job because I'm an anxious ass. You're not an ass, Paige said. It's really no problem. My mom is my boss, so I can't really get in trouble for choosing a school activity over work. Jason grinned and held out my taco order. Please don't change your schedule. I'll have Andre, Sydney, and Paige, I said. Which could work. Paige probably knew everything Jason did about Clara, and then some. Evan will be there too, Paige said. You have to come. Yes, I do. Jason drew out yes, like he was buying himself an extra heartbeat to make sure he had no out before agreeing. Woot woot! Commence side quest A. Do you mind if I run and talk to Noah for a sec? I said. I'd love to pick his brain about honors math. Paige lit up like I'd nailed Nope. What? Paige lit up like I'd nailed stage 2 of Laureldale assimilation. You like math? Nope. Yeah, I smiled. Rather than allow any free roaming, Paige escorted me to Noah, whispering tidbits about the classmates we passed. Carter's mom owned the best salon in the area. Tessa's and Jason's dads had a brutal barbecue rivalry. Haley only functioned socially within the flock that worshipped her and therefore adored everything she said, even though she always sounded like she'd just stepped in a pile of your dog's shit and only clung to her untouchably popular status through Beatriz, the girl I'd annihilated first during the illicit poker match. As we neared Noah, I switched my taco tray to my left hand, ready to trade awkward for the benefits of skin-to-skin contact. I charged the last few steps. Hi, Noah. I know we've met before, but I wanted to... I reached for his hand where it hung by his side, not even giving him a moment to raise his arm. I knew it would happen before our hands had even met. This feeling of reaching into something crackling and swirling that promises to tear you apart even though it's not real, not physically real, but somehow you know this force is undeniably present and bigger than you even want to understand. Like whatever makes up the universe is trying to warn whatever makes up me. Here lies chaos and despair. Welcome home. You were ours all along. I tightened my grip on my taco tray and softened my knees as the light pulled away from the edges of the shop. The darkness surged in like a cresting wave, not stopping until only Noah in the yellow glow of the parking lot light remained. Knife in one hand, hammer in the other, determination-shrouded fear filled his face as he screamed into the shadows. My throat fought against me as I dragged in a breath of the cold, damp air, making myself feel the way the chill rolled down into my lungs and the way the gasoline stench tainted my nose. Details I needed to remember. Details like handholds to cling to the vision a moment longer. Noah's head snapped toward me. No wounds on his face, no blood on his hands. Come on, Ella. Hold on, Ella. Noah stepped toward me. Luca? He raised his hammer over his head. Luca! A crack like a breaking bone, or maybe a pop like a gun, or the thwack of wood striking skull. I couldn't tell which, but something loud, driving into my ears, came the moment before Noah screamed and fell to the wet concrete. Pain tightened around my lungs as the sound of the rain battering the tarp tunnel took the place of Noah's wails. Sorry, I blinked as the shop came back into focus. I wanted to talk to you about honors math. I gave his hand a quick, actual shake and let go. You okay? Noah narrowed his eyes at me. Momentary panic. I couldn't remember if I'd grabbed all my homework this morning. He laughed. I have that problem every day. Oh, honey, your problems are going to get so much worse. And that ends chapter 13. So I will start with your thoughts. What are your thoughts on this chapter? That's usually what I do. So tossing it over to you. So sorry, I moved to the table. Go ahead.
I guess. So I don't know if any of my thoughts on this one are safe.
Oh, you mean that might all be spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can just jump
because
to me if you want.
we've kind of got into the point where, you know how like you roll the snowball down the hill and you roll the snowball down the hill and then it hits that bump and it's like, oh shit, she going. Yeah, we've kind of hit that bump.
Okay.
And it's not like in the next chapter, demons are coming up from the abyss to gobble people
You
up.
heard it here, folks. In chapter 14, there will be demons coming from the abyss.
No,
to
there are
gobble people
demons
up.
not. There are no
There are demons coming from the abyss.
Demons.
I am willing this into
but
existence.
it's one of those like from here on out. Like I'm very proud of the things that I managed to bring together in this chapter.
Sure.
Because there are 3 different super important visions going on right now. Mm-hmm. Life or death visions. We have Clara. Well, not visions, situations.
Sure.
We have Clara. We have Bloody Head Girl. We have Noah with weapons. Is potentially also a life or death situation.
Yeah.
So this is trying to figure out all those pieces. And this is the first time that she really has, okay, these are kind of my 3 shit shows I'm facing.
Yeah.
And so it's that directed task from here where everything is like, okay, well, what is the next handhold? What do I have to do next?
Right.
And this is the first time where she's really had that clear kind of mission of like, what is it I have to do? This isn't, I have to get to going home at the end of the day. This is, oh, I've got shit to get done. I have to find out this. I have to find out this.
Right.
I got to talk to this. I have to manipulate this person, steal this thing, like this, and this. And then I'll go home and do my homework.
Right.
So that's where we finally gotten to with her. And so from here, it is going to move faster. And so there is more like, what can I say? Mm-hmm. So why don't you ask me questions?
Okay.
And if it's not a spoiler, well, I will answer.
Well, my first one
I think that's safer.
That's okay. All right. So my first one is very easy. I want you to tell the audience what the KAT Society stands for. And you don't have to tell them what it is if you don't want to. I don't think is it a spoiler? Is it a funny thing that's going to happen? Should we let them have the laugh?
We should let them have the laugh.
Okay, great. So do you want to not even mention what it is?
No. We can mention what it is.
So what is KAT Society?
Because I spent a lot of time on this. The KAT Society is the Keepers of the Arcane Text Society. Which I'm not going to go into all of it. Mm-hmm. But there are 2 sides of what we would consider the wisdom academic path in Laureldale. Because there is the classic path.
The like AD, academic decathlon.
Like academic decathlon, valedictorian, like all those things. But then there is also that cliche side of nerd.
That was me. I was nerd.
I know. So we've had
I was also a straight A student.
We've had like the little mixer of the academia, which means the other half of what we have left from this day of Welcome Week is nerd.
Yes.
And they are nerds with the name Keepers of the Arcane Text Society. I will let you guess from what it is.
And I know what it is, and that
the only reason I didn't put the name in the chapter, because I have no problem. Like, it's not like I was like, ooh, the name is a big spoiler. It was putting the name in there would have been such a distraction for Ella. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. But KAT Society is like a, what the fuck did Paige sign me up now society? Like, you know what I mean? Like that she's going to blow off.
Yeah.
But if it had actually been Keepers of the Arcane Text, that's not going to slip her mind.
Right.
And so that was one of the things where it's like, it's not a spoiler. It just, that wasn't the place to actually put it down on the page.
Gotcha. Okay. So you talk about there being another individual who died along with Carver, but then there's no mention of it. Why? Is she not actually dead? I'm curious.
Well, because as a school,
that's just not something you would talk about.
You can't announce, hey,
right,
John Doe's mom died last morning.
Have we met this individual?
No, they're a senior.
Oh, okay.
So she doesn't know them. They're not in her class. Which is
why she says ice. Okay.
And it's not on the announcements because a school can announce, we have a new student, but they can't announce this kid's mom got crushed by a tree.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, as much as Paige and Jason are, like, in the know, tuned into everything, word hasn't spread that far yet. It's not that big a thing because juniors don't really know this kid and people don't really know his mom, and it's not said on the loudspeakers, and it's just not as big a thing as it is to Paige and Jason, who are in, like, everybody's thing all the time.
I just understood. Okay, so the reason they're making such a big deal about this is because it is somebody's parent, and that's why they're not wanting to talk to her. Okay. Sometimes I'm thick. Like, I'm smart, but sometimes I'm not so smart. Okay.
Because it's like not just did a teacher die, but it's somebody lost their mom, and if everybody's going to be talking about dead moms all day, do you need to be here right now?
Yeah. Okay.
Because that would be rough years and like that would be rough decades later.
Oh yeah, of course it would.
But less than 3 months, like that would be a lot. So it is very nice of them to try and be like, do you need to evacuate?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not going to be the teachers talking about it because it is not common knowledge enough yet that they can really do that thing.
So my next thing is not like a big discussion point, but it's what a sweet moment with Paige, like and what she says is kind of like a little like Jesus, but it's like welcome week is designed to find you the right friend group placement, glue you to them, and send you on your merry little way. So like I can understand taking that, and not that I think that Ella actually did take it this way, but being like, oh, okay, so you're just being nice to me, and then you're gonna get rid of me, you're gonna drop me. Like, okay, got it. I don't know. Did Ella feel at any point that that's what was going to happen, that she was going to get dropped, like after Paige said that?
No.
Okay.
Because also getting dropped is like, okay.
Right. But cool. The fact that Paige is like, when Ella's like, do I get a choice, like, in who you're gluing me to? She's like, hell no, you're staying with us. You don't get a choice. No, you're one of us now.
But just imagine if you had been like a person who cannot handle Paige energy.
Right. Oh my gosh. Is that one of the reasons that Paige wants her, is because she actually can go with the flow with Paige?
Yeah. Because she's just here and is like, okay, we have a fucking taco truck. Because to her, Paige showing up with a taco truck is like, well, that's excessive, but not as bad as the dead body in my brain. So, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Whereas other people would find her like super annoying and way too much.
Yeah.
So it's not both of them. It's Paige also being like, we need to find a place for you, and it may not be with me.
Right. That makes sense.
So there is like, it is selfish of being like, I don't want to have to pick up this hanger-on for the next 18 months or however many months it would be until they finish high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's also wanting to find
it would
them
probably
a place.
Be about 18 months at that point. Yeah.
Like wanting to find them a place so that it's good for them too.
Okay. I don't know if you can talk about this, but the King of the Quiets. So we see the initials KQ on the back of Caleb's chair in the library. I remembered that distinctly. I was like, well, this is going to come up later. And the fact that you brought this up here, the King of the Quiets. So is that something that we're going to get to learn about?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to leave it alone.
But it's his throne.
I know it's his throne. I get it. But
Kings
it's just
need a throne.
Like, my gosh.
So he has his library
and
throne.
So do Welcome Week princesses. Okay, not that. Oh, yes. So when I was editing this, I leave little comments to Megan, and she leaves comments to me. But Beatriz
you
with
wanted
a Z.
To see Beatrix Potter. You wanted some bunnies up in here. You were like, here you go, bunny.
I like bunnies.
I like bunnies too.
We can have a bunny though, because Maribel would annihilate a bunny.
Because Beatrix, you're like, Beatrix is too much like Bellatrix.
Yeah, and that actually is kind of where mine.
And then I'm like, oh, you're really evil. But Beatrice to me is like a little. Sorry if there are any Beatrices out there who get really offended, but it's like a little prim.
Oh.
It's got some buzz and some zap to it.
Yeah.
It's a little snappy.
Isn't there a Beatrice, like with a C-E?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but you wanted to make her...
Beatrice.
I already don't like this girl. And it's probably more to do with the fact that she's friends with Haley. But is she actually friends with Haley, or does she tolerate Haley?
You're going to have to read on that one.
Oh, are you serious? Oh, okay.
I'm not going to give you that one.
Okay. Interesting. So my last 2 points that I want to bring up. Something that I didn't realize that I loved about this chapter is the fact that Ella, and you can disagree, you might think that it was the last chapter, but I feel like this is the first chapter where we are really seeing her be comfortable with where she is. Like, and what do I mean by this? I don't mean that she, is necessarily like, yay, I love school, but I mean that she's comfortable enough to like make jokes, to make these like woot woots in her head, and to be like, all right, yay, we're doing this, like, so she's clearly kind of finding her footing. So much so that she gets into the vision and says, come on, Ella, hold on, Ella. So she's like, all right, I am in a place now where I can do this. Like, she actively seeks this out. All we have seen her do this far is try to avoid these visions. She has not wanted anything to do with them, but now she's like actually getting to see her work, right? And this is so interesting. So, I mean, do you feel that same way? Is she finally kind of settling in a little bit?
It's not that she's settling in. It's that this is her normal.
Okay.
So having no parents and living with someone she kind of knows in a weird house isn't normal.
Right.
But trying to figure out what the fuck she's seeing in her head.
I see.
And research.
Yeah.
And like all of these deep dives and all of this trying to figure out what's going on around her through these visions. This is what she's been doing her whole life. This is what her parents trained her to be able to do on her own in case they couldn't help her.
Okay.
So this is comfortable for her.
It just seems that she's more socially comfortable too.
Well, she's more socially comfortable because she's not trying to make friends.
Do you think that Paige has been a part of that?
Well, no, you're not listening. What I'm saying is she's more socially comfortable because she's not trying to fit in and make friends.
Oh, I see.
So from before now, she was trying to be like, yes, I'm going to be your friend. Yes, I'm a normal student.
So now she's
like, you're not a tool. You're not a tool. I do like you as well, but also could you?
Yeah.
So it's because she's approaching them as she would approach other people, and not that she sees everyone as tools, but there is an aspect of that because she does have to figure out what all these things are. And so she's in a normal kind of thought pattern for her.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. No, okay. No, I'm just like trying to think. I'm like, what did I see? Did I see it that way? And then you just explained to me how I was seeing it, and I think that you did. You're very good at doing that. So my last thing is, and this is kind of an odd question, and I'm actually pulling up my notebook for this one. So
I'm afraid.
Clearly you've known the pretty detailed outline of what you are accomplishing in this book. Yes. Has the podcast and what we have talked about and what people have commented on influenced at all the places that you were unveiling some of this information? For instance, the information about Paige and the outsiders, the fact that she's like, we're starting to slowly reveal that because we talked about that recently, and you were like, it sucks to be an outsider. Like, she talks about that a little bit in this chapter. Also, Caleb's sensory issues, like you're showing that even the humans notice it in this chapter. With that, the artwork, like, did you know that you were going to get to Noah's vision deeper into this chapter? Or did you bring that about because you were like, okay, so this is the artwork I want to use this week, so this is a really convenient way to make this happen? It didn't feel like you shoehorned anything at all. It's like, oh, this is so interesting, and the way that everything flowed together per the conversations that we've had. I'm just curious if the podcast has influenced this at all.
If the podcast has influenced anything, it's made things in the story shift. And I don't know. I don't know how much of it is because, like, that's on my brain now. And that's the problem with kind of real-time writing it.
Right.
Is we just talked about the fact that Paige is so, like, not so set on not allowing anyone to suffer as that rejected outsider.
Which was what happened with Clara.
Yeah. And other things as well.
Okay.
But yes, Clara is also a relation to that.
Yeah, okay.
It is not just Clara, but Clara does play into that. But I don't know if that was said in that way in this chapter because we talked about it on the podcast because I don't know. Mm-hmm. Now, that information was always there.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that is part of it.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I honestly can't tell you.
That's so interesting, huh?
And with things like the artwork, that was supposed to happen.
How long ago? Was that supposed to happen the first time she saw the vision?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I was supposed to, like, if you look at my chart of artwork, this was the artwork for this chapter was supposed to be like 2 ago. But because I'm the way that I have to write it, because I am doing artwork for every chapter, I've never tried to measure things out in chapters. I've measured it out in, like, story moments.
Right.
And I'm still figuring out how to measure it in chapters that are right for the podcast.
Okay.
So in my head, next major beat is, okay, she's on the detective path.
Right.
That means we're getting to Noah's picture of the street layout. Okay. I didn't know I was going to need a thunderhead cloud and like this and that and all of those things in between. Because in my head, I didn't need a tree with a trail sign on it. Right. Because the next story beat wasn't Caleb being in the room. It was, okay, now we have that path we begin. Which would be the parking lot light. Mm-hmm. But because I'm doing one for every chapter, so I guess it's more to do with how we're releasing the format with the pictures and the podcast.
I cannot even imagine. Like, I don't know what it's like to write a book, period, and then to completely change how you have been writing for years. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a mind fuck. It is an absolute mind fuck.
How dare you say fuck on my podcast?
In front of our students. I think it's hilarious that I spend so much time when I'm teaching and choreographing for...
Censoring yourself?
For teen performers, I spend so much time trying not to swear in front of them, trying to keep every possible innuendo that I don't mean because I don't mean them, and I catch myself halfway through.
You have a lot of innuendos?
Like, I catch myself halfway through saying wraps around your tongue like, oh, no, can't do that. That happened earlier on the episode. But like, trying to stop my brain before I go, huh, it's really hard when I'm around my teen performers. And the fact that I know that some of them are listening to this, hearing me say motherfucker and talk about licking Shamar Moore's abs is kind of weird to me. Yeah. But such is life.
Such is life. You can't control who listens to this.
I have 2 different careers. And also, I have a theater career and author career, and you know what?
There are some of our students that I wouldn't tell, like, absolutely do not listen to this, and she's one of them. But like, no,
there's more of them than that.
Oh, wait, what?
Yes.
What? How many of our students are listening to... Okay, y'all. Y'all. Okay, now...
We are not your teachers anymore. Therefore, this is not my problem. It is your parents' problem.
Yeah, so this is how a grown-up non-teacher, Mr. Chris and Miss Megan talk. Okay, so...
This is how a grown-up non-teacher, yet still censored for public consumption, Miss Megan talks.
Yeah, that's true. I was like, I think mine's pretty much the same. Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like the only time that I get any more foul-mouthed is when I'm playing video games with my friends. Yeah. Like, then we just let loose, and it's a great time. But otherwise, I think this is pretty standard for me. Yeah.
I mean, I curse the way some people say
It's true. It's true. It's true. Actually, little known fact, Megan corrupted the way that I talk. She did. Mm-hmm. She did. She made it so that I curse more. But honestly, I don't mind.
Honestly, it's the way my internal monologue is.
Look, you were
my internal monologue has those little like keyboard symbols, like the @ symbol and everything, like popping up all the time.
So you're Cubert.
Yes, my internal monologue is
awesome.
Cubert.
It does make sense now because the only way that you can get around the house is by jumping in weird diagonal patterns.
Freaks the cats out.
It is weird, and you've got a proboscis as opposed to I don't know. I'm sorry.
Proboscis?
Yeah, that's what Cubert has. A proboscis.
What is I don't know this word.
A proboscis. It's literally like this is a proboscis, but like kind of. So elephants have a proboscis. It's an appendage, like a nasal appendage, but there are certain like creatures that
you potentially learn something possibly true here, kids.
Yeah, it's something that
a proboscis has something to do with a nose, possibly an elephant.
It's not just elephants, but yes, a proboscis is a nose. Okay, great, and I think that is a very high point to end this episode on. So, was there anything else?
Proboscis?
The possible proboscis. That's going to be the name of this chapter. All right.
No, it isn't. No.
What is the name of this chapter again? You told me.
Of Death and Tacos.
Oh, that's right. I came up with the chapter name of Death and Tacos.
My idea for the chapter name, I was going to have it be Take Two.
Take Two.
That was last chapter.
No. Last chapter was 3 truths and a lie.
Yes, so this one was Take Two.
Oh, okay.
But it was not really a good title.
Oh, because of a vision, yeah.
Yes, because she's going back to the vision.
But then I said of death and tacos.
And I said, yes, that is in fact better than
And I was like, oh, okay. I was not expecting that.
I am not proud. I will take your idea of death and tacos.
In fact, you took one of my ideas and wrote an entire novel with it. That still hasn't seen the light of day. Any Ilbrea fans out there, ask Megan what that novel is, because it does take place in the world of Ilbrea. Technically, it is not an Ilbrean novel, but it does take place in the world of Ilbrea. So I am really looking forward to Brittany coming after you for that one. But eventually it will get released. But we do have a lot more to do before then. But it is finished. Oh my gosh, should we just... Never mind.
No.
We'll talk about... Okay.
I am not just dropping a book...
Okay.
I haven't looked at in 4 years.
That's true. It has been a while.
It is technically like when we put it in the drawer, it was completely edited and
ready to
publish.
It's a really good story.
But I put it in a drawer and I haven't looked at it in 4 years. So I know.
It's a really good story. I'm going to throw it out there. Actually, I might take that up and read it again. I really liked that book. Okay. All right. So that is all the time that we have. So if you are listening to us on a podcast platform, make sure that you have given us a follow. Give us a rating. Be honest in your rating, but it does help. The more ratings we have, the more easily people can find this podcast. The videos are going to start going up on YouTube this week. And I'm so excited.
And as for the chapters...
Oh, no, I forgot.
Kindle Vella is doomed. Amazon has announced that Kindle Vella is no more. So for at this point, the chapters will only be available through the Substack platform.
It's so crazy.
So look up Megan O'Russell on Substack if you would like to read the chapters of the text.
Yep. And I think that is it for us. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Great. Awesome.
Possible proboscis.
A
proboscis protuberance.
And as always,
a perturbed proboscis.
Thank you for reading.